Hey there, folks. Welcome back to the channel. Doing a little Friday early morning recording that's going to appear on Friday. We'll see. I might actually upload it at the same time. It depends on how the processing goes on YouTube. So you'll either, on the West Coast, you'll either have it late in the evening, or on the East Coast, you'll have it early in the morning. It'll be something like that. Anyway, I want to talk about a handful of things, and I wanted to stick to the theme that I'm including in the title of this one. So this one is going to be the old saying of missing the forest for the trees, or can't see the forest for the trees, however you want to position it. And I'm going to use a very specific example, but realistically, I could use a number of different examples that would apply here. But I'm going to play off of not only something that we talked about on the live stream this past week, and we'll be doing a live stream on Friday evening, 9 p.m. Eastern time, the usual thing. We'll talk about maybe this a little bit, and then a variety of other things. Nothing too big news-wise this week, although it'll be kind of fun. And of course, we've got a lot of craziness going on in football and free agency. We could definitely talk about that. It's not free agency, sorry. Different transactions happening and the quarterback carousel going on. We may talk about that a little bit. We'll see. We'll see how we'll play by ear like as we always do. But what I wanted to talk about is one of the topics that we discussed last week, which was the whole idea of the Zerocool thing and things related to it. And a lot of the response that I got, now, admittedly, really important point of order here. Usually when I do the thing on the live stream, I want to talk about the news, I want to talk about things going on with it and talk through a lot of things. But sometimes I'll run into a case like the Zerocool thing where people really seem intent and hell-bent on focusing on certain specific things. And throughout the course of the live stream, between this and also the eBay Vault discussion, I wanted to make sure, and I tried to repeat it a couple different times throughout the live stream, was that although I like poking fun at certain elements of it and having a little bit of fun with it, I wanted to make sure it was understood that the best takeaway from a lot of these things is to understand that you have to kind of sit back and look at it as a bigger picture thing, because the real meat and potatoes of it is going to be what comes next. It's a precursor to what is to come. So the actual individual thing is not necessarily as important. It's just understanding it at a high enough level so that when we get more information and more comes later on, then you're really going to get into it. And like this week, we got a little bit more information about the eBay Vault, so I may talk a little bit about that on the live stream. Nothing crazy as far as new details, but we're getting a little bit more information. So like I said, as things start to stream through, we're going to get a little bit more of that. But at the same time, from the Zerocool thing, I decided after the live stream to sit back and wait. And I saw from, like I said, from the comments and then from the discussion that was being had by the folks on the screen, is that a lot of folks still managed to completely whiff and miss the point entirely. And that's why I want to take a couple of minutes to talk through it, because it's easier for me to go through it in a video specifically touching on the pieces. And whether you agree or don't agree, that's fine, but I want to make sure I get this across. And like I said, the big thing for me is standing back for a moment and looking at the bigger picture, and we'll get through a little bit of that here in a second. One more thing I want to touch on, though. I've got obviously the Instagram page that I'm starting off with here. That's always one of the hubs, obviously the YouTube channel being the other. But I also want to bring to your attention that I'm going to be doing a collaboration on Monday. I'm going to be appearing on the Rolling with FG channel. He's already got the nice little thumbnail going. I did like that he was able to put this together from one of my live streams, I assume, because you can see the different colors on the naming there. But I think they did a good job with this thumbnail. But anyway, so I'll be on his What's the Play episode, and I'll be there, and he gave me a little bit of list of some stuff that we may end up going through, so I think it'll be a fun discussion. We'll hang out, we'll talk about it. I'll include a link to this in the description of this video, so in case you want to check it out. That'll be on Monday. It'll be 9 p.m. Eastern on Monday on the Rollin with FG channel. Now, let's get into the topic at hand here. I want to get straight into it beyond this point. Okay, so as far as this is concerned, obviously there's the high level that we talked about as far as Zerocool itself. But where I immediately know that some people completely miss the point is, and I'll blame myself for this to a point, because I did lean into it a little bit by having some fun. Eric likes to get really outraged at certain things because it's kind of funny. But at the same time, it is both sincere and a little bit of shtick. It's a little bit of both. You got to understand that when you're watching the live stream. Of course, I did harp on my personal favorite, Positive Porcupine. And then I saw there were some other really good ones that I got a kick out of. But these stupid little drawings basically are the kind of area that people really fixated on and focused on. And unfortunately, and that's problematic, because actually I don't really give a crap about Veefriends. Let me make abundantly clear. I think these little drawings are stupid. And I don't really care about the NFT element of it and all that. But NFTs is actually another topic that could very much fall under this subject matter of this video. But I want to focus on this specifically, because this is like a perfect case study example of the quote-unquote hobbyists fixating on something and completely missing the point. It's actually very impressive. almost to the point that it's almost like its own. I would think maybe the best investment that a lot of hobbyists could make at this point, and this is actually not entirely tongue in cheek. This might be a serious suggestion. I feel like there's a lot of folks out there in the hobby that might need to buy a few less cards and maybe spend some of that money on therapy, because there's an underlying psychological problem with some of these folks that get irrationally angry at the dumbest things. And this is a perfect example of getting irrationally angry at a very dumb thing. The Veefriends thing is silly. It's these stupid little doodles that Gary Vee came up with, but it's the card guys, especially the sports card guys, that complain the loudest about this, when this is a product that is specifically not built for them. And the impetus of this video was kind of the reaction that I got during the live stream when I kind of had my fun with it. Obviously, I fixated on Positive Porcupine and that because, like I said, at the end of the day on the live stream, a lot of times the biggest troll is the host. So I do like poking fun at it. But when I pull that back and strip it down to its core elements, this product was successful. Whether you like it or not, whether you see value in it or not, I don't actually care. And I think a lot of people fixated on the idea that it's like, well, if I don't like it, then, why would anybody spend money on it? Because it's not your money. It's not your business what other people spend money on. And what I always kind of reply back to some folks sometimes when I'm speaking in a one-on-one and, smaller groups is that, okay, if you want to tell people how they should spend their money and whether you think there's value in what they're doing, may I point you to the millions and millions and billions of people out there on Earth that think you spending money on pieces of cardboard with men on them is equally stupid. Just because they happen to be professional athletes, trust me, there's no legitimacy to it that you can put on it that will make those people think that you're doing something positive or intelligent. They're going to think you're morons. And to be honest, they might not be wrong. And as a multi-decade hobbyist, trust me, this is stupid. This is no more, Positive Porcupine is no more stupid than a Mike Trout rookie. As hard as you might want to try to make them different, they're not. They're not necessary. They're a luxury good, so to speak, because it's not required. Now, getting back away from the specifics of this, fixating on Positive Porcupine completely misses the point of this entire exercise and this entire project. Zerocool here is Fanatics successfully doing a test market run on this entire concept. It's not the Veefriends thing that you should be fixating on. It is the whole Dutch auction thing and how they decided to implement it on the website and the manner in which they did it. Because I guarantee you that Zerocool will never produce a sports card product, because that's not what they're there for. They're there for popular culture and things. There may be some athletes in some of the products going forward, but I think it's going to be based on celebrities and influencers and this kind of thing. But where this does matter is that this is a proving ground and a testing ground for Fanatics to be able to test certain mechanisms that then will likely get carried over into the sports card. So if you are a person who will be participating in the modern side of sports cards later on, then this will be then relevant to you going forward. Again, this is the whole forest for the trees thing. Don't worry about Positive Porcupine. Don't worry about Veefriends, and don't even worry about Zerocool necessarily. What you should be thinking about is, if you are going to participate in future, modern products, is how the success of some of the experiments they're going to do here with this product are then going to translate over into the sports card trading card realm. Now, one of the things that I think is going to become a part of it is, like I said, that Dutch auction. And that was kind of one of the points I was trying to make at it. The other piece of it that really plays into where I think this is going to be relevant is that this is also a product where they explicitly outlined the print run, the number of cases, the number of boxes, how many boxes were actually released versus what's being held back. This is the vaunted, quote unquote, transparency that people seem so obsessed about. Well, this is likely going to be the model that is then going to get employed, but then under the Topps brand. The Topps brand is where the sports card thing will come into play, or if they buy or license any of the other brands. So pretend it's not Positive Porcupine and pretend it is Mike Trout, but pretend it's something more along the lines of Topps what is it called? Transcendent, I think. I think Topps Transcendent is the product. I'm thinking the WWE one, and they have a really high-end Topps product. I think it's called Transcendent. But think, instead of Positive Porcupine and Veefriends, imagine it's Mike Trout and Topps Transcendent. Imagine they made 1,000 cases of it. Imagine they put the odds and did all this kind of thing, and this is how many cards are in the checklist, blah, 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 whatever. So they do this, and they give you all this information, and they build a website exactly like this, except it's on Topps.com, and they go through this process and say, okay, 1,000 cases, 12 boxes per case, so 12,000 total boxes. That is the entire print run. Go. How much would you pay per box? Well, you'd have to say to yourself, okay, so what's in it? Oh, you're going to get autographs. You can get game-used memorabilia. It'll look like this. It'll be like this, this, and this. What's that worth to you? Well, if you're like a lot of folks in the hobby, you're probably going to wait for singles, fair enough. But there are going to be people out there who are going to want to break it. So for them, it may be worth is $1,000. So that's what they're willing to bid. Somebody else is willing to go 2,000. Somebody else is willing to go 5,000, and they want to buy 10 boxes at 5,000. And somebody's willing to do, 100 boxes at 1,000. They got a ton of money, whatever the case may be, whatever. The point is that can be then the model for that type of product. This isn't going to work, and this is important. This is not going to work for every type of product. It just wouldn't, because you try to do this with flagship tops, this would be a miserable thing and it would fail. It would crash and burn. But understand that this experiment is going to be critical, because there are going to be products where they're going to do this. And the reason they're going to do this is because this is a financially superior way of Fanatics making more money on the product. Because think about the way that the product is distributed today, even something like Topps Transcendent. First, you start off with the manufacturer, then they've got the manufacturer suggested retail price. They sell that to the distributors at whatever price they do it. The distributor then marks it up, and then they sell it to dealers, and then the dealers mark it up, and then they sell it to you, or to breakers, or whatever the case may be. That is the normal path today. Through this path, doing it this way, on this type of product, Fanatics can actually get more of a bigger piece of that pie before it hits the secondary market. This product ended up being successful. They were able to get over $2,000 a box, and they were able to sell out their 800 box allotment. They made $1.7 million on this product. It wouldn't have mattered whether they did or they didn't. The point was the proof of concept. The point is the website worked. It was able to get all the information without crashing. It was able to absorb all the bids. It was able to calculate, and they were able to almost immediately, within a day of it being done, they were able to give you the results. This is all the boxes have sold out. This is how much we sold of the boxes. This is how much we sold them for. There you go. Here's your information. Do with that as you will. Sell it on the secondary market. Crack open the boxes. That's on you. That is now your problem. Go to eBay or do whatever you're going to do. Bringing it back over into the sports card realm, again, if you imagine it as being a Topps thing instead of being a Veefriends thing or a Zerocool thing, then that is one model. Like I said a moment ago, though, that's not going to work for every product. I'd envision this being more of a thing for the high end to the mid to high end. It's got to be at a level at which it's worthwhile for them to release all the figures. Because what I can almost guarantee you, if I was a betting man as far as this is concerned, there are going to be products where this will probably make sense or where they're going to give it a try. But I can also bet you that something like Topps Flagship, I would be very surprised if they gave you print runs. Do not be shocked if they don't give you any print runs, and do not be shocked if, because of that, what they decided to do with Flagship is similar to this year. They decided to print the hell out of it. Now, some people are going to complain and cry bloody murder about that, but here's the truth. That makes perfectly logical sense to do that. Why? Because that's going to be the product that is going to be always available. When you go to Walmart or Target or whatever you're going to do, and you go there to try to see a blaster, there should be a blaster of Flagship Topps available to you pretty much at all times. There's no point in clearing the shelf, because guess what? You're going to get a lot of base cards, and they probably printed 1 million of them. So you want to open and crack some packs? Go ahead. And can you still pull a card that could be good? Yes. Can you still pull a card that'll be a chase? Sure. Are they going to be easy to come by? No. Because in relative terms, there's tons of blasters, tons of hobby boxes, tons of everything. It'll probably be available commonly, but if you want to rip open some packs, have at it, have a good time. That's what a flagship is going to be like, and that's what it's going to be for. This type of model is going to be for a different kind of product. This is going to be something closer to a Transcendent. It's going to be something a little bit on the higher end. That is not going to be for everybody. Now, what about stuff that's somewhere in the middle? Well, that's where it gets interesting. For stuff in the middle, this is probably not going to make any sense either. And the printing to the moon concept is not going to make any sense either. You're going to want to be somewhere in the middle. So what do? Maybe you get some retail only product like you do today. Maybe you go the route, and Josh Luber has put that out there. You could have the option of having some product that you make available only to breakers, so that folks that decide to buy through breakers, then they have a product that's only available for them. Well, you're going to print less of that than you're going to print for the flagship product, but you're definitely going to print more of it than you're going to print for that high end that's going to be used in this Dutch auction format. So the point is, you're going to have all these various price points, and you're going to have all these different places. Now, for a player collector, something like that, this is going to get really complicated really fast with all those different price points and all those different, ways of acquiring it. But that's not really fundamentally different than the way this game is played today. We try to look at it as going like Fanatics is reinventing the wheel here. They're really not. They're adding 1 or 2 wrinkles to an existing thing. But I'll use example of Upper Deck. Upper Deck obviously is, an incumbent. They've been around since 1989, 1990. And today, and I'll use the example of the AEW wrestling product that I've talked about on the channel in different capacities. Obviously, you've got your retail blasters as you always do. You've got your hobby boxes as you always do. The secondary market took off with those. The blaster boxes are available. They're out there. But recently, I think this past week, e-Pack became available. And for those of you who aren't familiar, I signed up for the e-Pack thing just to play around with it a little bit. But basically, you can buy virtual packs. But here's the thing. If you buy the virtual packs of the AEW product, all the base cards are digital-only cards. It is the parallels, the inserts, and various other ones that are then convertible into being physical cards. So all the base cards you pull out of that product, even though you're paying, I think it's $12.99 per pack and $199 per box, all the base cards are digital only. So they only exist inside of the digital realm, which makes things kind of a little bit interesting. And I think all the parallels are available as physical. You can convert it over once they're available, and you can pull real inserts and everything. But those real inserts and those real parallels are included as part of the print run of the overall. So whatever was not put in the hobby box and whatever is not put in the hangers or in the blaster boxes, some of that allocation was held back for e-Pack purposes specifically. Well, that's another model. That's another way. Well, that specific model, that money goes directly to Upper Deck. The purpose of having a model like that is to offer another alternative, yes, but it also offers the ability of Upper Deck to be able to adjust the pricing, because I can tell you that $199 box price for the e-Pack box of the product is probably not what it would have been had the secondary market not gotten much higher, because it would make no sense for them to charge substantially less on e-Pack where you can pull real cards. Like I said, the base will not be, but the other ones, the inserts and the autographs and stuff like that, those are convertible into real deal cards that can be shipped to you. So it makes no sense to have that available at that price point where somebody can go and buy it, and then the dealers that are selling them for $200 or so then kind of get screwed over. So it wouldn't be a good experience for them that are working with Upper Deck. So Upper Deck found a way to create another model. Well, this is just another variant of that as far as this is concerned. The fact that this is non-sport, the fact that this is outside of the sports card realm, is part of the reason that I push back against the folks that spend so much time complaining about the meaningless minutia of it. You don't need to like Veefriends. In fact, if you don't, in some ways, if you don't, it's better. Because in reality, not only are they not marketing this to you, they actively would prefer that you weren't buying it. Why would you not want that? It's not that they won't like your money, by the way. That's not the reason why. The reason I say, though, is that it does them no good if you, the sports card collector, buy this product. Because really, what you're shooting for here is you're trying to get somebody who wouldn't touch a sports card with a 50-foot pole, but that might like Gary Vee, but that has the money and is willing to invest into this kind of thing or buy into it. It doesn't matter that they like Positive Porcupine or not. They're willing to buy in the thing because Gary Vee's name is on it. That's who they want to do. They want the people that are not involved in the market today. The only way to do that is to offer them something that's not sports cards. And the reason for that is because if they offer them sports cards have been around this entire time. They don't want sports cards. If they had wanted sports cards, they would have bought the ones that already exist. And that's the point. This isn't a situation of, well, we can use this as a gateway to convert them to sports cards. Maybe that'll work. I doubt it. I think a lot of them, and Josh Luber has made allusions to this already, and talking about a celebrity-driven version of this kind of product. The Gary Vee thing is an influencer kind of thing, whatever. But the next product is going to be more celebrity-based. It's going to be something else in the same vein and same concept, but it's going to be celebrity-based. Well, and he uses the example of Kim Kardashian because he collects cards that have Kim Kardashian on it. But if you're going to sell that, and maybe somebody's a fan of, the Kardashian show or Kim Kardashian directly, they're more than likely, there's a good chance they're not a sports card fan. So you're not going to be able to sell them a Mike Trout card. You're not going to be able to sell them a Tom Brady card. You're not going to be able to sell them any of those things. They don't care about Kevin Durant. They don't care about LeBron James. They don't care about Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. They don't care about Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, Michael Jordan. None of that matters to them. But they are interested in Kim Kardashian. They'd be willing to buy a card with Kim Kardashian on it. And if they're not interested in any of those sports cards, but they are interested in Kim Kardashian, and you give them a Kim Kardashian set or a Kim Kardashian card, then you're getting somebody new into the market of overall trading cards, not sports cards, trading cards that wasn't there before. And that's the real mandate of what Fanatics is trying to do. Because trying to expand the sports card thing, yes, that's going to be part of it. It's going to be promotion, advertising, and all that good stuff. But the truth is that's only one element of the strategy, because if that's all you're trying to do, guess what? It doesn't matter how you try to sell them or pitch them on. There's going to be a lot of folks that are sports fans who will never buy a sports card. It doesn't matter if you put them at gunpoint. They just are not interested. They've never been interested. They never will be interested. But if you can get some of those Kim Kardashian folks or Kanye West or Taylor Swift, or pick somebody in the celebrity sphere, I don't care, musician, actor, actress, whatever. But if you can get them to buy into that product, but they'll never touch a sports card again, even at gunpoint, that's a win for Fanatics. Because then, great, You're gonna sell them Zerocool cards. The sports card folks won't touch it. That's great. That's fine. But then for that, you'll have Topps or Panini, or if they license one of the Panini brands, or if they license some other brand, that'll be where that becomes available. That's a different strat. It's like this multi-pronged strategy. But the overall, like I said, impression that I got as I observed a lot of these videos and things and the reaction to a lot of them, it made me laugh, because at the end of the day, a lot of these really complaining sports card folks, you're not only complaining, and I was trying to struggle to find like the best analogy for this, but here's the best I got. It's like somebody who complains because their neighbor has their Christmas lights out during the summertime. But that's not even good enough. We have to take it a step further. So you're complaining about somebody else having their Christmas lights out, even though they're not on. But you're complaining about somebody else has Christmas lights on, that you had to get in the car and drive 4 hours out of state and into another country to drive into their neighborhood, to drive up in front of their house, to then stare at it and criticize it. It is not for you. This isn't your neighborhood. This has nothing to do with you. Why are you here? And that's kind of the thing. And that's kind of the thing that I come off of it when I look at it, is that it's like, why are you spending this much energy complaining about this? And it isn't my imagination, because I went and I read through a bunch of those comments, and it was very amusing to me how many people went out of their way to look for this, specifically to complain about it. It's very entertaining in its own way, but also very silly and very short-sighted, because again, missing the forest for the trees. The important thing is not Veefriends. The important thing is not Zerocool. The important thing is what this will then mean going forward for the newer product of sports cards and how that gets distributed going forward. Every experiment that they run through Zerocool is simply a precursor to what may come on down the road, which then can impact sports cards, which then may have some relevance to those folks. But there'll always be the folks that have to complain about everything. And that'll just kind of be the way it goes. Now, by contrast, if you're one of those folks, and there's always that guy who puts in the comments like, well, I collect vintage, so none of this affects me. And then I would remind you again, you just watched the video of something that doesn't affect you. So you clearly have a lot of free time in your hands. Use some of it productively. Go and study up on some of that vintage. Read a book. Get off the internet. Because really nothing affects you at that point. Those cards are already printed, guys. You want to do some research on them? Go ahead. Go find a video. Go find an article. Go do something related to that. Why are you commenting on YouTube videos of stuff that isn't related to? I promise you this video has nothing to do with vintage. So if you're still here and you're going to complain about that, you are wasting your time. I collect vintage, but I don't need to read about it or do anything in vintage, because I can do my research on my own time. I don't need to watch videos on it. But thanks for asking. Other than that, my main overarching point was exactly what I said. To bring it back around to the final point here is that I pay attention to this stuff because I like to be up to date on what's going to come forward. I'm not going to be in the market for this product, but I'm also not going to be in the market for the version that Topps is going to do, mainly because of price point. It doesn't make sense for me. However, I'm not going to ignore it, because I do want to understand how that's going to play, because then the success or relative success of that going forward is then going to impact and trickle down through the other categories. Fanatics is going to try out more things. So for me, as a content creator perspective who talks about, what they do, it's relevant for me. But specifically, I'm also interested to see what additional experiments there are. What future releases from Zerocool tell us about some of the things they're going to try out, some of the formats they're going to try out, and some of the ways they're going to try to roll it out. I do genuinely believe, like I said, there's going to be some products that are going to be done like this. I believe some products are going to be specific to only certain categories. I think there will be a breaker product. I think they'll try that. They're going to try some of these where they'll release all the information. This stuff, you pretty much have to go the transparency route, because that's the only way this is going to work. But for some of those other products, I'm sure they're not going to give you the print runs. It's not going to be consistent across the board. I think there's going to be a case-by-case basis and format-by-format basis. And that's just the way I look at it. When I see this, that's what I'm fixated on. Believe it or not, I'm not fixated on positive porcupine. Although, it's positive porcupine. Again, as I mentioned on the live stream, no Trogdor. And those of you that know, you know. Anyway, so that's it. That's kind of what I wanted to get across on this one. Unfortunately, we weren't able to quite get to that point in the live stream. We got fixated a little bit too much on Flex and Fox and positive porcupine and Juicy Jaguar and all of those great characters. But I think even if you're not in the realm where you're going to be in this version of it when it does come over to sports cards, I do still think there is some value in at least understanding what's coming down the pipeline. And this is your first test run as far as what that's going to look like and going forward in the future. Whether it's successful or not, that's not up to me. It's up to the market to figure it out. And that's kind of the point, though. It should be the market that figures that out. It's going to be the people are going to vote for with their wallet on this stuff. They'll choose to buy it or not. And whether one person's buying it or a million people are buying it, that's not really my concern. It's just a matter of how that impacts other things and how that adjusts the way they decide to approach their business going forward. and what that does with distributors, what that does with dealers, and how that all plays into that ecosystem as we go into the rest of the 2020s, into the 2030s, and beyond. And we'll see. We'll see what, if any, impact that has on any of that. But for me, as an observer, I'll be very interested to see where that goes. Anyway, that's it for me. If you've got any thoughts or comments, I'd be happy to read them in the comments section. If you're that vintage guy, I will probably just laugh and ignore your comment. But if you have anything specific that you want to discuss pertaining to any of this or any thoughts related to it, I welcome it. Other than that, more videos coming up on the channel. Live streams coming on Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, as always. Thanks very much. We'll catch you in the next one.